Hey all, welcome to installment 5 of me making my little UFO game. So just to refresh, last time we got it so that when you press the spacebar, a tractor beam appears and abducts people, and I've got an abductions bar up here, but two problems. People fall at a linear rate, which is sad, and I also can't abduct anybody who doesn't come close enough to the top of the screen here. So if they don't get close enough to me, I can't do anything. So I would like to fix those two issues, and in order to do that, first things first, we're gonna need to fix our falling rate. So let's go look at our obj person code. So right now we've got an x speed and a y speed variable. The y speed variable is actually used for wandering. So I'm going to make these two, the x speed and y speed variables, I'm going to call those x wander speed and y wander speed. And that's just so I can differentiate them. So here when we're actually abducting our people, so when we go into our tractor beam, let's go into our step code. So in our step code, let's see, I just changed the names of those two variables, and I need to change them all throughout here. So I'm going to grab the word wander with an underscore here. And I'm going to make this big enough that we can see what we're doing. And I'm going to make this guy a bit bigger. And then everywhere, oops, that's not what I wanted. Everywhere we've got a y speed, we're going to change that to a y wander speed, and everywhere we have an x speed, we're going to change that to an x wander speed. Okay. So, think I'm good with that. All right. So, this is the part that causes us to fall. We just add 2 to the y. What I want to do is I want to add y speed to that. And I want to assign another variable. And the variable here that we're going to assign is we're going to assign y speed. Swear to God I can spell. And we're going to add 1 to that variable. And then we're going to go over here. And we're going to add a variable that we're going to call y speed. So y speed is managing our falling speed, essentially. Oh, and here, these guys needed a wander. Come on. Did we really forget what I had on the keyboard? Or on the clipboard? That's annoying. Okay. So I've got all of those set to include the idea of wandering. Now I'm incrementing the y speed and adding y speed. This is going to stop as soon as we get back into this range. And let's see if that works. So we're going to... We're going to pick them up, and then they immediately accelerate down, and then some real messed up stuff happens. Okay, so what's going on is the rate at which I'm picking them up is not fast enough. So let's go into our collision with our tractor beam. And right now, I'm just increasing the y by -7. So, sorry, I'm decreasing the y by 7. I probably want to... I probably want to, before I do that, let's go ahead and set our y speed variable to 0. So we're going to kind of, essentially, the tractor beam is going to negate gravity, and we're just going to move upwards. And then as soon as that collision disengages, then Y speed should come back into play. So now we should see, okay. All right, feels like a gravitational force of 1 is too strong. So let's go back into our step event. And this is using 1 for gravity. Let's make that 0.2 and see what we got. Okay. That looks a little more real. Great. Okay, so we've got falling realistic. That looks good. Now let's work on our player. So right now in our player, we're allowing them only to move left and right. So what we want to do is add a little bit of nuance to that. Basically, we want to let us move up and down. So I'm going to grab one of our key downs here. And I'm going to paste that in here. Oop, that went way down at the bottom. Okay. Let's go ahead and just comment this. So comment, this is where we're doing end of horizontal movement. And then this is going to get a comment that says beginning of vertical movement. Okay, so here we're going to do a letter, and our letter for up is going to be W, and we're going to make an up. And then we're going to need here an else attached to that. We're going to go ahead and copy this and paste it, and then attach it to our else. So if we're not pressing up, we'll set to 0. Then we're going to go ahead and paste in our key down for S. And that's going to get a variable that we're going to call down. And then we're going to add an else to that. We're going to copy this guy. We're going to paste it. We're going to set our down variable to 0. And then we're going to go ahead and do some changing. So looking at our other code, right, we're assigning a variable to x speed, which is this right minus left thing. So I'm going to copy that. And then all the rest of this is just controlling which sprite we're using. So I'm not going to need to copy any of that because our ship isn't going to change orientation if it's moving up or down. So here I'm going to make a y speed variable, and we're going to do right minus left times 7 for that, except right minus left is wrong. We're going to do down minus up. And that might be upside down. It's either down minus up or up minus down. And then here I don't have a variable y speed, so we're going to need to add that. And then over here, we're going to need to assign one more variable, and the variable we're going to assign is y. And we're going to assign that the value of y speed, and we'll make that relative. And so now we should be able to move our ship up and down. Up and down, and if we move it, we can indeed abduct people from the bottom of the screen. This does seems like I've got a little bit of an exploit going here. we're probably going to have to fix that. I'm also not liking this behavior, so I'm going to put a limiter on this. And the limiter I'm going to do is we're going to say, all right, we only want to do this stuff if. So we're going to say if y is bigger, y is greater than y start. Is it y start? Okay, then we're going to go ahead and do these two variable assignments. So we're only going to let the ship move down if it's already down. And then we're going to want to add another if to that. And the other if we're going to add to that, I want to make sure those stay in the same order, is we also want y to be bigger than, I want y to be less than, and this is where I'm going to need to figure out the value. So let me go into the room, and that, let's see, I think I only want the ship to go down to about here. I can double check kind of how long this is, so I'm just going to put the tractor beam sprite down here someplace and say, all right, that'd be 445 pixels in. So I want to say if it's less than 455 pixels, then we'll do this movement. That should limit me. Oops, I must have something wrong because pushing W and W and S doesn't work. Let's do greater or equal, and here we'll do less or equal. So now we can go down. Uh-oh. That feels like I'm allowed to go down too far, honestly. So let's make this a flat 400. Okay. That still feels like I was allowed to go down too far. Let's call it, let's call, 350 should be fine. Okay, that feels like not quite far enough. So let's go to 370. That should be about right. Okay, cool. All right, but then once I go down, I get stuck there. So I'm trying to go back up and I'm stuck. And the reason for that is we went down 7 pixels from something above that, and now we're below 370, and now we can't move up. So we want to go ahead and add an else here to this one. And on this one, we'll just go ahead and assign the variable y to 370. So that should bump us to 370. So now we should be able to go down and we can go back up. Oops. And I can't go back up because I did that. Now I have the same problem, but for the other one. So we're going to add an else to the other one. So we're going to add an else to this one. We're going to just copy that, put it in there, and we're going to set that to y start. Sorry about that. Sorry about adjusting the zoom there. Every time I hit control and try to move the mouse, it drives me a little nuts. All right, so now we should kind of juddering down there, juddering up there. Great. But we can go ahead and collect a bunch of people now. Cool, so we've got a little bit of a speed limit. I'm pretty happy with our falling physics and our not speed limit, like a limited band. So my UFO can't go too many places. I'm not real happy with this juddering. So the issue there is that I'm moving in increments of 7 pixels up and down, and I picked the range between those two numbers isn't divisible by 7. So I'm going to do a little math off camera and figure out what those numbers should exactly be. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys later. Okay, so let's talk about that juddering real quick. So the issue I'm having is this guy. And I thought at first it was because the space isn't divisible by 7, but it actually is. Amazingly, the numbers I picked are divisible by 7. The initial Y for the ship is 160, and I assigned that boundary value of 370. So the difference between them is 210, which is in fact divisible by 7. That wasn't the issue. The issue is that I'm allowing the ship to continue to move down from 370, I'm allowing it to move down by 7 pixels from 370, and then the next time through the loop, we're setting it back to 370 and then letting it move down again. Same thing with the start. So what I need is in the if statements here, I just need to verify that the direction we're going is the right one, essentially. So we're saying, all right, so if the variable y is bigger than or equal to y start and this other stuff happens, this is where I really should be using an expression. It would make my life a little easier. So, what the hell? Let's do it with ifs anyway. This is a little bit inexact, or inefficient, but it'll be okay. So, what we want to do is we want to say, all right, if we're greater than y start and less than 370, so if we're strictly between 160 and 370, then we should go ahead and move either up or down based on that variable, right? Based on our whole little scheme that we've got going. If we're bigger than y start, right? So if we're further down than 160, but not less than 370, the only place we could actually be is at 370. And so if we're at 370, we don't need to assign y to 370 because that's already the only place we could be is at 370. So what we want to do is we want to say, all right, if what the hell, let's leave this in here just for safety. We want to say if y is actually equal to 370, then we're going to want to say further if y, let's actually take our calculation for our speed out of here. So I'm just going to grab this speed variable calculation and put it up front, because we can calculate the speed without using it. So if y speed is bigger than 0, right? So if we're trying to go down, we shouldn't do that. So we want to do if it's less than 0, then we should assign our variable, and the variable I want to assign is y. Nope, not y speed, y. And the value I want to assign it to is going to be, we're going to add y speed to it. So if we're trying to go up from the bottom, we should be allowed to do that. So let's try that. So now, I didn't do the top one first. So let me recheck that one as greater than or equal to. Okay, so now we can go down. We go to the bottom, and we don't get stuck at the bottom anymore. We still have juddering at the top, but not at the bottom. So I'm mostly fixed there. I want to fix that juddering at the top. So I'm going to take this whole if chain here. We're going to copy that. We're going to go into our else. We're going to paste that whole ass if chain here. And we're going to say if we're actually equal to y start. I keep forgetting that one doesn't have an underscore in it. And that y speed is bigger than 0, then we should go ahead and adjust. So if we're stuck at the top and trying to move down, we should let that happen. If we're stuck at the top and we're not trying to move down, we shouldn't let anything happen. Oh, whoops. And I need to go back up in here and set this to strictly greater. All right. So no juddering at the bottom, no juddering at the top, not stuck in either place. Cool. I think I fixed it. Psyched about that. Thanks for watching this one. I'll catch you guys later.